Hello and welcome. You're watching News Central Television. I am Judith TB. These are the top stories this hour. Human rights activist Dele Farotimi arraigned over alleged defamation. Senate pauses tax bill, plans meeting to address disputes. And U.S. President Joe Biden in Angola tours Lubito Port Terminal. Details shortly. We'll begin the news at this hour at the courts as human rights lawyer and activist Dele Farotimi has been arraigned before an Ekiti State Magistrate Court. Farotimi, who was arrested in Lagos on Tuesday by operatives of the Ekiti State Police Command, was brought to the court at about 10:25 a.m. Wednesday. The activist lawyer is being persecuted on a 16-count charge of defamation of character against a legal luminary, Afe Babalola. He was accused of having maligned and defamed the character of Afe Babalola in his recently published book titled Nigeria and Its Criminal Justice System. Farotimi's lawyer has confirmed that he was not granted bail. The Ekiti State Police Command has also confirmed Farotimi's arrest, stating that he was apprehended after failing to honor previous request for questioning. The court has adjourned the case until December 10th. Meanwhile, a former vice president of Nigeria and 2023 presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, has strongly condemned the arrest and detention of a lawyer and human rights advocate, and that's Dele Farotimi. Now, Atiku described the incident as a disturbing reminder of Nigeria's oppressive military dictatorship era, criticizing the use of state forces to suppress dissent and limit free expression. Now, in a statement issued on Wednesday, Atiku expressed outrage over the accusations of defamation against Farotimi, arguing that such matters should not involve law enforcement. He further condemned the growing trend of targeting individuals who oppose the administration or exercise their right to free speech, warning that this poses a serious threat to Nigeria's democratic values. And now to the Parliament of Nigeria, as the Senate leadership has directed its Committee on Finance to suspend further action on the proposed tax bill pending the outcome of a high-level meeting with the Attorney General of the Federation, AGF. The Deputy Senate President, Baru Jibril, who made the announcement during plenary, disclosed that a special committee has been constituted to address contentious issues in the bill, with the meeting scheduled for Thursday. The decision follows a series of deliberations by lawmakers aimed at resolving disagreements over key provisions in the proposed legislation. The contentious areas have sparked debates among stakeholders in the last couple of days. In addition, the Senate leadership announced plans to convene a special meeting to be held at the National Assembly and chaired by the minority leader to address all areas of disagreement.
Issues surrounding tariff reform bills, all the areas of disagreement, and resolve them for the interest of this nation. It is therefore proposed that by tomorrow there be a meeting with the committee that will set up here and the leadership to sit down with the Attorney General to look at those issues and resolve them. It's on this note that the Committee on Finance that the bills have been referred to should hold action on public hearing and other issues until we resolve these issues. So by tomorrow we shall sit, the committee shall sit with the committee that has been set up here, which I'm going to read the membership by 1 12 tomorrow, so that we can see all these areas and resolve them for the interest of our nation. I therefore read the members of the committee, the names of the members of the committee. Number one, Senator Abba Moro, the Maryland is the chairman. Senator Mohammed Tairi Mongono, representing Northeast. Senator Adamu Alero, representing Northwest. Senator Oji Uzo Kalu, representing Southeast. Senator Dixon, representing South-South. Senator Tatu Zam, representing North Central. Senator Abdullah Yaya, chairman, Committee on National Planning. Senator Adiola Solomon, Chairman, Senate Committee on Appropriations, Senator Musa, Chairman, Senate Committee on Finance, Senator Abiru, Chairman, Senate Committee on Banking, and the entire leadership will be part of that meeting.
Still with the Parliament, the Nigerian Senate has approved a medium-term expenditure framework with a total spending of 47.9 trillion naira and a new borrowing plan of 9.22 trillion naira, which includes both domestic and foreign borrowings. Now, this followed the presentation of a report by the chairman of the Joint Committees on Finance and National Planning and Economic Affairs, presented by Senator Musa Sani. The highlights of the approved recommendations of the 2025 to 2027 Medium-Term Expenditure FSP include approval of a projected framework with an exchange rate of 1,400 naira to a dollar, the oil prices of $75, $76.2 and $75.3 per barrel for 2025, 2026 and 2027 respectively. Now, during the debate, lawmakers demanded a reduction in the petrol prices against the backdrop of the commencement of the Port Harcourt refinery. The Senate tasked its committees on finance and petroleum and gas to investigate allegations of withheld funds by the NNPC, including 8.48 trillion naira in petrol subsidies and $2 billion, and that's about 3.6 trillion naira in unpaid taxes. We'll move away from that now, as the activist and politician Omoyele Sowore has clashed with the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, over the recently seized properties in Abuja. Now, the EFCC on Monday announced the final forfeiture of 753 duplexes in Lokogoma district, but did not disclose the owner, referring only to a top brass and former official. Now, Sowore criticized the EFCC for shielding the identities, accusing the agency of protecting corrupt elites. In response, the EFCC called Showore's remarks uncharitable, defending their decision not to name individuals unlinked to property documents. Now, Sowore fired back, calling the EFCC statement reckless and revealing he had court records identifying those involved in the alleged fraud. He insists the agency must name those implicated. Now, earlier, a public affairs analyst Francis Chilaka spoke to us on this development. Take a look.
Well, what EFCC is doing is they take pride in exposing small thieves, Yahoo boys and all of that. But the major thieves in our economy, those who are holding Nigeria by the jugular, those who have ripped and raped Nigeria, and they're covering them, then it means that the whole reason for having an EFCC has been thrown to the dogs. We as Nigerians, the sovereignty of this country belongs to Nigerians. And, Sowore is exercising his right, to demand. Don't forget about the information bill, which states that when you request for an information, it must be made available to you. Yes, I totally agree with Sowore. I agree with him that EFCC is acting in a very reckless manner. They're acting as if they're not accountable to anyone, which is not acceptable. If you are telling us that you have, you are taking forfeiture of, there are forfeited 753 duplexes. We're not talking about one, we're not talking about two, we're talking about 753. And for the court to have awarded it to EFCC means that somebody must have shown face in the court. Who are these persons? We need to know who these persons are. So for me, I think that Sowore is in his right to demand. Nigerians are also demanding. It's not only Sowore. Nigerians are demanding to know who are the owners of these properties. Because if we don't know the owners, who are we persecuting? How do we fight corruption when those who are aiding and abetting corruption are being shielded by security agencies?
Now, as Francis Chilaka there giving us a statement regarding the seizure of 753 buildings by the EFCC, and Omoyele Sowore calling out the EFCC. Now, we're going to a short break. When we come back, on the other side, Delta State, where we head to the states. We hear that the state's 2025 appropriation of 98 billion naira has been assented. We'll tell you all about this after the break. Join us again. And now, welcome back. We head to Lagos, where the state governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has signed the Lagos Electricity Bill 2024 into law, paving the way for a comprehensive overhaul of the state's energy sector. Now, the new law aims to ensure a 24-hour electricity supply to every corner of Lagos, a major step towards transforming the state into a global city with reliable and uninterrupted power supply. Now, Governor Sanwo-Olu signed the bill at the Lagos House, Ikeja, on Tuesday, emphasizing its significance in addressing the state's energy challenges. The Lagos Electricity Bill 2024 outlines measures to enhance power generation, distribution, and regulation, including the establishment of a new state electricity authority. Now, this move follows the federal government's approval for states to generate and distribute energy in 2023. And now to discuss this further, we're joined by Chinedu Ama. He's the founder, Spark Nigeria. Chinedu, thank you so much for joining us. How will the implementation of this Lagos Electricity Bill 2024 impact the affordability, which is something that's on everyone's mind, but also reliability, when it comes to electricity supply in Lagos State?
I think it's a process. The most important thing is understanding that it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. It's going to take a couple of months to unravel. The first thing is signing the law, and the next thing is the National Electricity Regulatory Commission commuting the powers to regulate at the state level. A couple of weeks ago, Lagos State government put out documentation, a request for investors for power generation within the state. So it's a process. It's not going to be a quick win. It's going to take a while, but it's progress. It is one of the things that I have been in support of for a long time now. Decentralized regulation, let the states take responsibility and drive the electricity service development within the state.
Now, speaking of deregulation, well, we understand that this will mean a new authority that will be in charge of the distribution. But what are some of the specific measures in this bill that will be taken to improve power generation and, most importantly, distribution? All the corners of Lagos State?
The bill by itself is only an enabler. It's not. It's a document that drives policy. It drives investment. So it's an enabler. It will not automatically drive improved power supply within the state. However, it will guide regulation of the service within the state, attract investment into the state, and slowly but surely improve service reliability within the state.
And I mean, like you said, it's a framework. So let's talk about new law and how it will attract investment in the state's energy, sector. You talked about that. What are your hopes in terms of those investments?
I think it's bright. I think
the gremlins, we seem to be losing connection there with Chinedu. We'll try to bring that conversation in our subsequent bulletin. In the meantime, we'll move to security as Nigeria's Chief of Army Staff, Olufemi Oluyede, has restated the commitment of the Nigerian Army to prioritize the welfare of its officers and men in order to improve troops' efficiency. Now, this was made known when the General Officer commanding 3 Armored Division and Commander Operation Safe Haven, Major General Abdulsalam Abubakar, presented electric motorcycles to 16 best performing soldiers of the division. News Center Chizoba Anionwe tells us more. We'll also bring you that in our subsequent bulletin. In the meantime, we'll head to Delta State, where 20 days after Governor Sheriff Oborevwori presented the 2025 budget estimate of about 936 billion naira to the Delta State House of Assembly, the governor has now signed the 2025 appropriation bill of about 979, that's about 979 billion naira passed by the State House of Assembly into law. Now, the approved budget is made up of about 636.461 billion naira as capital expenditure, while 349.767 billion naira is for recurrent expenditure. The governor also signed 5 additional bills, which were presented alongside the 2025 appropriation bill. Now, speaking shortly after assenting to the bills at his conference room, Government House, Asaba, Governor Oboriwori expressed his delight at the speedy consideration given to the 2025 appropriation bill known as Budget of Fiscal Consolidation by the Delta State House of Assembly. We head now to Abia State just hours after meeting with the organized labor in Abia State over errors in the consequential adjustment of the national minimum wage. Governor Alex Oti has directed that the salary structure be reversed. Having heard directly from those affected by the new structure in the meeting, the governor ordered that the errors be corrected. Now, the meeting was in response to the call for an industrial action from Monday, November 2nd, 2024 by the national leadership of the organized labor in Abia State over alleged non-implementation of the national minimum wage. News Center's Chinwe Ugeli reports.
Some workers in Abia State had raised concerns about the effect of the consequential adjustment after they received their October and November salaries. Those in the lower cadre celebrated more than those of the higher cadre.
From the junior cadre, from level 1 to 7, they are enjoying huge minimum wage. We are happy.
The outcry by the workers and the reaction by the national leadership of the organized labor got government's attention.
I had some people list us amongst some states that have not paid minimum wage. I say that is lack of information. They should ask you.
At the meeting with the leadership of the organized labor and its affiliate unions at the country home of the governor in Mvosi, the leaders of the labor unions in the state paint a clearer picture of what the consequential adjustment is in their salaries.
These health workers are receiving less than when it comes to pay.
Governor Alex Oti thereafter instructs that the controversial consequential adjustment be further revised.
It's important that you understand that this government is your government, no matter what anybody says. And that is why we don't owe anybody.
The workers are happy that their anomaly will be corrected before their next salary comes.
Please, I have to thank the governor for accepting to pay 70,000 minimum wage as ordered by federal government. And the other one, he has given the instruction for the people in charge in finance to do the needful. We feel good that at this point that Nigeria is facing serious hardship, that the governor thought it wise that he will implement the minimum wage.
The state chairman of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Ubunaya Okoro, thanks the governor for his response to labor issues.
Together, we'll make this place a better place. We will appreciate you for the work that you have done, and we are praying that you attend to the other ones.
Hopefully, the State's Accounts Department will correct all the errors pointed out and place workers duly on their salary structure. In Omaha for News Central, I am Chinwe Ugeli.
And off to Rivers State, where Governor Siminalayi Fubara has denied allegations of excessive borrowing by his administration. Speaking during the inauguration of the 11.8-kilometer Ukehi-Umuala-Ibiri Road, Fubara clarified that the only loan his government is taking is a 200 billion naira facility for the construction of a 50-kilometer ring road project connecting 6 local government areas. He urged critics He urged critics to verify the claim with Debt Management Office, emphasizing his administration's commitment to responsible governance. The newly inaugurated road serves as a critical link between Iche and Omuma Road local government areas, or rather Iche and Omuma local government areas, furthering infrastructure development in the state.
The contractor didn't disappoint us. Even when we are struggling to meet the basic need of government, what are the basic needs of governance? Protect the life of your people and their property, provide services. Even when they are working to make sure that we can provide services, we have to staff. We are determined to make sure that our people are happy. And we said, whatever it is that will cost us, we must make sure that we do this. Today, we are starting to showcase what we have done in those months when people are asking, what are we doing? Where is the fund? I'm happy to say here, I stand to be challenged. I have never borrowed. This administration has not borrowed. The only money we borrowed was the one we used in the ring road, and everybody is aware of it. Go and bring any paper. Go to debt management office, and check if we had asked for anything. We don't need it. What is important is the little we are getting, we are applying it rightly. You are aware of the situation that even while I'm still having difficulty with money, I paid salary, not just paying salary. We implemented the above 70%, 70,000 minimum wage. It's showing our commitment, showing our love for our people. So I want to assure you, we will not let you down. Continue to believe in one River State. Believe in Rivers first.
Still in Rivers State, Governor Siminalayi Fubara has assured of implementing the recommendations of the report submitted to him by the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into the arson, killings and destruction of property at some local government council headquarters on or around Monday, October 7th, 2024. Now, Governor Fubara gave the assurance when the 7-member commission led by the chairman, Justice Ibiwegui Roselyn Minakiri, submitted 4 volumes of reports of their investigation and recommendations to him at Government House in Port Harcourt on Tuesday. The governor declared that his administration will neither tolerate nor allow such level of violence in the state anymore because it is not profitable or productive.
We're not going to be part of any system that would encourage any destruction in this state. And for that reason, we had to inaugurate this commission so that this commission should look into the cause, remote cause of this problem. And I believe that the recommendation of this commission, with the help of God and the support of everyone, we will make sure that we implement the recommendations.
Joining us now to discuss this further, we're joined by Member Immediate Past Caretaker Committee, Port Harcourt City Local Government Area, Tekana Bosi. Tekana, thank you so much for joining us. I mean, let's look at the challenges of, political violence in Rivers State. We've seen cases of this, and I mean, that's a conversation we're having now, given all that happened around October 7th. What are some potential challenges Governor Fubara might face in curbing, political violence in Rivers? And, what strategies can be employed to just overcome them?
Thank you for having me. First and foremost, I would say the governor won't be facing any challenge in this state because he has done everything within his capacity so that law order is maintained in the state. And like their footsteps criminal activities to stop. You know, if people have been found guilty by the panel of inquiry set up by His Excellency, then the rule of law needs to take its course. And I believe that will serve as a warning and lesson to others who want to take laws into their hands, you know, in the future, you know.
Now, I mean, yeah. River State is a very peculiar state, all right? And I'm using peculiar because of federal might. We understand the tussle, power tussle or squabbles between himself and the past governor of the state, who is now the minister of the FCT, none other than Nyesom Wike. Do you see him in any way being able to prosecute and, you know, investigate individuals or groups that are involved in political violence without any sort of protection and interference? This is in no way trying to indict anyone, but I mean, given the peculiarities of River State, one has to ask this question.
Okay, so I believe in the rule of law. If we go by the saying of the former president of Nigeria, late Yar'Adua, he always mentions the rule of law. You know, every government needs to enforce the carrot and stick approach. When people do well, commend and reward them, while those who are caught on the wrong side of the law should face the complete repercussion to deter other people from going that route. You know, the governor reiterated his stance on accountability and affirmed that no one, including himself, is above the law. And anyone found wanting of the violence that erupted on the 7th of October, just immediately after the local government elections, will be called to book. If you're found guilty, you will be called to book. You know, what the governor did by setting up the panel of inquiry is very commendable.
Right.
It's very, very commendable.
Right, yeah. But Tekana, can law enforcement follow through? Because we saw them remove themselves completely from the local government election exercise about a month ago or 2 months ago in October. Yeah, they're about in October. We saw them remove themselves completely from the exercise and let the electoral officers and the River State RISIAC, as well as, you know, electorates, come out to vote, and there was no protection. Can law enforcement follow through in ensuring protection of political freedoms, plus human rights, and persecuting those who are found wanting?
Of course, the law has to take its course, and the security operatives will carry out their duties diligently. Like, thank you for coming to that. We saw that the past election, without the presence of the security of the operatives, was free and fair. I think the best elections we've had in Nigeria. For me, the dilemma though is how the governors in Nigeria. I'm not talking about River State right now. I'm talking about the country in general. The governors in Nigeria attacked the chief security officers of the state, and they are meant to maintain law and order. Yet, the Commissioner of Police receives orders from the IGP. I believe the National Assembly needs to look at the practicability of this. What has happened to the conversation of state policing? We need the NAS to look into this seriously. If the court gives a judgment, the security operative should carry out the order. Why choose side in politics? You don't have to be politically inclined. Do what is right. That should be done.
I'm glad
the security operative is right and not be partisan.
I'm glad we're talking about non-partisan and and just bipartisan and neutrality and and key players and stakeholders in matters such as this, because another stakeholders who we hope for neutrality and partisanship is none other than the local and traditional leaders and the role that they play in supporting efforts when it comes to reducing political violence. And how can their influence be leveraged in this in this situation?
Come again? You're breaking out, sorry.
I apologize. You're talking about neutrality, and I'm bringing another key stakeholder into this conversation, and that's the local and traditional leaders. They play very vital support efforts, whether it's, reducing political violence or even aiding political violence. How can their influence be leveraged in this case where Stephen Eli Fubara is trying to come to a peaceful resolution and a peaceful state and persecute those responsible for the arson of October 7th?
leaders, the traditional rulers, I believe, we call them the elders in today's society. They see what we might not be able to see, and they say the truth. Like in the case of River State, they see green and call it green. Hence the reason you see a lot of the elites, a lot of the traditional rulers are at the side of His Excellency, the Executive Governor of River State, Timileyin Fubara. The governor vows to stop the unreasonable violence in Rivers politics. It is the way to go. Blessed are the peacemakers. The governor is changing the narratives in river politics. Politics without bitterness and violence is the way to go. And the governor has been consistent in showing himself as a man of peace, because politics cannot be do or die. The same thing the traditional rulers and the elders in the state are saying, are preaching to the both parties involved in this. So they've called the both parties and preached peace. And we need peace in River State. So everyone involved in the rifts in River State should come to terms and let there be peace in River State.
Well, Tekana, I must say thank you. We hope for peace in River State and a peaceful resolution for the sake of the people of the state. Once again, many thanks. Tekana Busi there is a member, immediate past caretaker committee, Port Harcourt City Local Government Area. We're going to a short break. When we come back on the other side, the U.S. President Joe Biden tours Angola's port terminal Lupito. We have the details after the break. Join us again. And welcome back. U.S. President Joe Biden visits Angola's port of Lupito to the latest stop on a several days visit to the Central African country, where the United States is showcasing a major infrastructure project which seeks to counter China's investment in the continent. Now, Biden is expected to announce fresh investments worth $600 million for the Lupito corridor, a massive infrastructure project aimed at transporting critical minerals from inland countries to the Angolan port for export. And now off to Namibia, where people in Namibia's capital, Windhoek, say that they are excited after Namibia's ruling Southwest African People's Organization, that's SWAPO party, was declared winner Tuesday of last week's disputed elections, ushering in the Southern African country's first woman president. Now, Vice President Natubu Nandi Ndatwa took just over 57% of ballots, followed by the candidate for the main opposition, Independent Patriots for Change, IPC, with 25.5%. Now, the 72-year-old becomes the first woman to rule the mineral-rich Southern African country that has been governed by the SWAPO since independence from apartheid South Africa in 1919. You're still watching news now on News Central Television. Still ahead, U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken says a ceasefire is holding in Lebanon. We'll tell you details after the break. Join us again. Welcome back. Continue from outside the African continent as U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken on Wednesday during a NATO press conference in Brussels, Belgium, said the ceasefire in Lebanon was holding despite a series of incidents between Israel and Iran-backed militant Hezbollah. Now, both Israel and Hezbollah face accusations of having breached a truce that took effect last Wednesday to end a war that has killed dozens and thousands in Lebanon and sparked mass displacements on both sides. According to Blinken, both sides, namely Israel and Hezbollah, through the Lebanese government, still want a ceasefire.
And we're using the mechanism that was established when any concerns have arisen about any alleged or purported violations. Both parties, that is to say Israel and Hezbollah through the Lebanese government, wanted and continue to want the ceasefire. On the ground, we have enduring interests, enduring security interests in Syria, particularly the interest in making sure that ISIS doesn't resurrect and doesn't come back. there was a tremendous success by the Obama administration and then completed by the first Trump administration to end the so-called geographic caliphate that had been established. All of the ground and the almost physical state that had been established. It's profoundly earnest to make sure that doesn't happen again.
The World Bank's latest international debt report reveals that developing nations face a staggering 1.4 trillion naira, I take that again, apologies, 1.4 trillion US dollars in foreign debt servicing cost in 2023, largely due to interest rates reaching a 20-year high. Now, interest payments alone hit $406 billion, nearly 30% increase from the prior year, impacting spending in vital sectors like health and education. Now, vulnerable economies, particularly those eligible for loans from the World Bank's International Development Association, IDA, were severely affected, paying a record of about $96.2 billion US dollars in debt servicing alone. Now, while principal repayments decreased by 8%, interest payments soared to an unprecedented $34.6 billion US dollars. Now, multilateral institutions, including the World Bank, have become essential lifelines, providing significant financial support amid tightening credit conditions. Now, total external debt for low and middle income countries rose to $8.8 trillion by year-end 2023. And now for some sports news. Kwara United have announced the postponement of their matchday 16 fixture against Oyimba. Now, the encounter, which was initially scheduled to take place on Saturday, December 8th, has been moved to a later date. Now, the game was moved due to Oyimba's CAF Confederation Cup engagement. The People's Elephant will take on Egyptian giant Zamalek in their second group game of the competition at the Godswill Akpabio International Stadium, Uyo, on Saturday, December 8th. New England Revolution have parted ways with Ghana defender Jonathan Mensah at the end of their 2024 season in the Major League Soccer. Now, the MLS outfit declined the option of extending the veteran centre-back's contract for another year. Now, Mensah, who once played and captained Columbus Crew, joined New England from San Jose Earthquakes in 2024. Now, the FIFA Under-20 World Cup winners struggled for form and consistency this season, making only 8 appearances as New England failed to reach the playoffs. Now, the 70-time capped Ghana international could join another club in the MLS as he heads into his 9th year in the MLS. The draw for the extended or expanded FIFA Club World Cup is set to take place in Miami on Thursday, offering details of a tournament that has been viewed with indifference or even outright hostility across parts of the football world. Now, 32 club teams will battle it out in what is effectively a curtain raiser for the 2026 World Cup, taking place a year later in the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Now, FIFA President Gianni Infantino's Passion Project is regarded as an unwelcome addition to an already crowded global calendar that exhausted players say has pushed them close to their breaking point. Now, the loudest antipathy towards the tournament and FIFA has come from Europe, where Players Union, and that's FIPO, filed a legal complaint to the European Commission accusing FIFA of abusing its position over its handling of the international fixture calendar. Now, we wait to see how 2026 will pan out. A crowded calendar, only time will tell. Well, that's all that we can take at this hour, but before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. Human rights activist Dele Farotimi arraigned over alleged defamation. And we also told you that Senate poses tax bill, plans a meeting to address disputes. And lastly, the U.S. President Joe Biden is in Angola and he tours at the Lupito Port Terminal. Now remember, they can watch News Central live anywhere you are. We are on DSTV channel 422. You can also catch us on Star Times channel 274. You can find us on Avo TV, or better yet, stream us live on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Judith at TV.